Hi, I'm Kathy, and this is Hing. We worked together at the hospital from 2005 to 2008. And before we go any further, Hing, I do have to ask you for your permission to be recording this and
Yes,
possible use for future classes.
sure. You have my permission. And yeah, again, this is just strictly out of my opinion of how, in my observation. I'm not a specialist or of any kind. So fire away.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you were born in Cambodia
I was born in Cambodia, yep, in 1975.
and you came to the U.S.
Yes,
when you were 9?
yes.
Okay. And you had mentioned when we were chatting before
Yep.
that you would like to talk about the different versions of Cambodia. Is that the right term?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Yes, sorry.
okay. No, that's okay.
Yep. So back in the days before 1975, Cambodia was basically a happy, prosperous nation, uh, fall under the rule of a king. But then after the fall of Saigon in Vietnam, that was the beginning of the dark time in Cambodia for 4 years, where civil war happened and genocide happened, and approximately 2 million people died, innocent people, whether it be hard labor or starvation or being executed just because of who they were. And it's basically a communist faction in Cambodia who wants to take over and um, abandon all any Western world culture. So what they need to do is basically um, uh, just turn the entire country upside down, back into like this agrarian utopia. Um, that was their hope anyway, and as a result, a lot of innocent people died, and that was dark time. Then in I think it was 1979, when we finally broke free from that. People started to escape and ran off to the the border of Thailand, where majority of the refugee camps were set up, and that's how I came here. And we finally, me and my family, that's my grandmother, my two uncles, my mom, and myself, um, arrived in America in 1985. Yep.
And excuse me,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah. Yeah.
since you've left Cambodia,
Yeah.
have you been back to Cambodia?
No.
Has anybody, like your uncles or
Yes.
anybody close to you, been back to
Yep.
experience it personally?
Sure. Yeah. So I've never have any interest in going back. It's just because it's my personal feeling, and that we crawl out of there with barely, survive. We barely survived that the whole ordeal. I didn't really want to go visit it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be reminded. Well,
Well,
you know what I mean. It's
yeah,
like going.
but
Yeah.
being a 9-year-old,
Yeah.
or even if you said you were 5
Yeah.
when it all started,
Right.
that's like the most informative time for a child.
Right. Right. I mean, it was.
So yes, you're going to remember that and not want to
Right.
re-experience it.
Right. I feel like it's. I know people would think that that's bad, that you should go and at least you know experience where you were born and your heritage and stuff like that. Like, yes, I know. I do know, and but it's just my personal thing.
Yeah.
I really don't want to go back there,
No,
but I do know what's going on.
I
right
completely
now.
understand why you don't want to go back.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Maybe one day when my daughters, four of my daughters, when they're all grown up and stuff like that.
If they want.
If they wanted to, but I definitely want to bring my family, to visit my birth country. But yeah, I think my uncles and my aunt, they went there. My uncles and my mom, they been to Cambodia multiple times. since 1985, and they say things are improving, but the thing is, the society there is a lot different now, and it's very very sad. The disparity between the rich and the poor are so wide to the point where there is no middle class, literally. So when that happens, it's also um, create a lot of problems, a lot of issues, and people are starving, people are suffering, and it's unfortunate. And the government's not doing much about it. They're part of the problem. They allow corruptions. Public officials are corrupt. The government themselves are corrupt, in my opinion. So therefore, it trickles down. This corruption trickle down, and the poor and innocent people suffers. And right now, one of the major problem issues besides poverty and everything is that there's human trafficking, uh, sex trafficking, young children.
Yeah.
And it's to the point now that it's become the norm, and it's not right. It's people thought at first, yes, poverty does create those kind of
Yeah.
environment and those kind of transaction that goes on that are just violating human rights, really, and violating children's rights. But now it seems like it happens so much that it's become the norm. There was some research going in, diving in to see what is going on, and they found out it's not the poorest of the poor that sells and traffic and send their kids away or sell their kids. It's almost like the people, almost the regular people, are the one that are doing it. Just
Like
to,
the well, because you said there is no like middle class,
right?
so it's the rich.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
the rich,
well, not the super
for,
rich.
but
No,
the rich for Cambodian
let's just
standards.
say the upper crust of the poor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's the norm where they basically, if you give birth to a girl, you consider to be saved because now you can traffic those kids. It's with the complicity by the parents. I mean, it's like, the parents are the one are encouraging it.
Hmm.
It's become to the norm, as it's become the norm now that it's okay to traffic your kids, and it's so sad.
Now, is the with this happening there, are there like I know there are organizations going there to try to stop it,
Yes,
but the government
it's
is
not doing
making
it.
it.
It's making it worse. They close one eye and open the other.
Mhm.
Corruption is a major problem in Cambodia right now. From the top, the
Mhm.
leader down to basically um, the basic
Mhm.
public official, now to basically just regular people.
Mhm.
Corruptions happen everywhere. Um, the rich will always have every right. The poor will always have to fight and lose every
Mhm.
time because they don't have money to, put in the pockets of the public
Mhm.
official to the police or whatever it is. And the rich will always have that money and always will win at every time. Um, it's so it's so bad right now, and the disparities keep on widening up. And another thing too is that it's like you kind of wonder, does the people of Cambodia have short term or long term outlook? Obviously, human being, regular people have a long term outlook to say for a better future, but in this instance, a lot of the poor in Cambodia, they can't even see past one day.
Right. They're like, okay, what's they're
They're
doing
living
this?
day to day.
Well, even like meal to meal.
Yeah, it's yes,
You know.
exactly. It's like they have to go in a slum, a garbage slum somewhere, and they have to go stand there. Sometimes they allow not allow, but they take their kids out from school to go and pick garbage,
Mhm.
whether it's recycling stuff like plastic and metal and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and just to make a a buck for that day.
Now, mentioning school, now in the research and things that you've done,
Yeah.
not that you've
Yeah.
experienced it,
Right.
Schooling in Cambodia now is not very,
Not good at all.
like,
It's not up to par to where developing world is right now, so you can there are primary, secondary, and stuff like that, but anything past, say, high school, not you don't have the opportunity. For one, you don't have the money for it. Two, you can't go any farther because you have to support your family.
Right.
You have to go to work. And three, there is no government subsidy or program to help further educate the younger
so right now,
population.
most people or children in Cambodia, do they like not even finish elementary school?
Again,
especially girls.
Yes, especially so it's depend on your class.
Yeah, your class.
Where
your
we don't have a class system, but we do. It depends on where you are at. You're like if you're
on the social scale.
It's social, yeah. It's like exactly. So if you're like if you're rich, you're from a rich family, yeah, you will have opportunity to do and study, go to abroad, and but if you're again, there's not much middle room there for the middle class. So what's left is basically the lower class, which they can't go any farther. The kids basically either have to work, to get food, like for that day,
support the family.
support the family. So I guess there is no long. Go back to what I was saying is about short term, long term.
Yeah.
There is no long term outlook for majority of the people, especially the poor.
Yeah.
It's short term. It's living day by day.
Yeah.
It's very sad. And corruption. It's just destroys society, really.
Yeah.
And so right now, I mean, it's very difficult for a lot of people, especially when the government has no program for them, where public officials and even the head of the government there are for themselves. They get international support, but where are those money going to?
Yeah.
Build this and that, but that's another thing too. When there's investment and stuff like that coming from abroad, going to Cambodia, there's two things there. There's like, first of all, that money is going into whose pocket? Public official or the government? Yeah, to the whatever the people who runs the country. At the same time, they are also forcing people out of their livelihood, like their dwelling. They say, for example, investment from Cambodia got investment heavily from China, Japan, and South Korea. But those money goes toward the officials in Cambodia. But at the same time, those officials also are forcing a lot of the regular, poor people, like in a certain plot of land or housing, that they want to build something there. So they're forced out, right? They're forcing out,
taking over the
land.
land.
And like, where are they going to go? They lived there for decades, and where are they going to go? So it's like, yeah, it's good to have investment coming in, but then again, are those benefiting Cambodian and the people in general? It's not.
And they're not.
Yeah, so therefore, in that sense, long term for the country, it might look good from the outside world, but it's not really if you go into Cambodia and see where the money is going and who's suffering the most.
Yep.
So that's how I feel about that.
Thank you very much for
doing
this for me.
Yeah,
I greatly appreciate it.
Yep.
I'm going to